Just ahead on American Black Journal, we'll remember federal judge and civil rights icon Damon Keith. Plus, celebrated artist Charles Bibbs showcases his work in Detroit, and Focus Hope recruits for its job training programs. American Black Journal starts now.
MASCO Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. MASCO and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
For nearly 100 years, Ally has been a part of Detroit, and we give back by volunteering and donating in our community. We have a commitment to diversity and increasing economic mobility in our hometown. At Ally, we're dedicated to doing it right every single day.
And viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. The legacy of federal judge and civil rights champion Damon Keith is being remembered here in Detroit and across the world. Judge Keith passed away at the age of 96. Born in Detroit, he was the grandson of slaves who rose to become an internationally known civil and equal rights advocate and the nation's longest-serving black judge. In 2014, I had the chance to sit down with Judge Keith for a rare one-on-one interview. We talked about some of his cases and his biography, Crusader for Justice. Here's a portion of that conversation.
Steve, I went to Howard University Law School and had a chance to be with Charlie Houston and Thurgood Marshall, Spotswood Robinson, and other great advocates. And Thurgood used to tell us, the white man wrote those words, equal justice under law.
Right.
When you leave this law school, I want you to make him live up to those things. Use the law as a means for social change.
Right.
And in my career, I have tried to do that, to try to balance the scales of justice. In the wiretap case, when I told President Nixon and Mitchell they couldn't wiretap without prior judicial approval.
Right.
In the Detroit Edison case, where there were no blacks in any high position, and I fined them a certain amount of money, along with the union,
right,
for not representing. And then the Hamtramck case, and the police case, and the Pontiac school case, where the Ku Klux Klan dynamited those buses out there in Pontiac,
sure,
and they threatened to kill me. So, in fact, I had been enjoying all these cases you were saying when I got on the bench. So I was so concerned about this, Steve, until I went to Judge Freeman, who was the chief judge, and I said, it's almost impossible for one man or one judge to receive all of these heavy cases.
Right.
And I said, I think something's wrong with the blind draw.
With the draw, right?
Yeah, with the draw. And he says, you know, it's a little difficult. I can't understand how you drew. He says, I'm going to put the FBI down in the clerk's office and see if the draw has been cleaned. So he did, and he came back to me a month or two later, and he says, you just drew all those cases?
You just got them.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And as I look back over my life, Steve, it was good that I had them, and I've made a difference in terms of the judicial philosophy throughout the country.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the phrase that you're best known for in judicial circles in terms of, opinions that you've written is the line that democracy dies behind closed doors,
yes.
Which of course is a phrase very close to my heart as a newspaper, newspaperman.
But life is funny in terms of the way it directs you. And I believe that faith plays a part, and God plays a part in it. In these two cases, dealing one with President Nixon and Mitchell, and another with President Bush.
Right.
In the first case, dealing with the St. Clair case, where you had Bill Kunstler and Leonard Weinglass representing these revolutionists, the case was originally assigned to Judge Talbot Smith, who lived in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And he came to a judges meeting and said, I have my wife and my children here in Ann Arbor, and I wish you would get in touch with the Chief Judge of the Sixth Circuit and ask him to bring another judge in here to try this case. I don't want to try it.
I don't want to risk.
Yeah, I want to recuse myself.
Yeah.
So I'm the youngest. I'm getting back to your question about the youngest judge on the court. So I'm sitting there, and I tell Judge Freeman, I said, we have taken an oath to try the big cases and the bad cases. And I said, every time we have a difficult case, we can't ask the chief judge of the circuit to assign another judge to come in.
Right.
And he says, Judge Keith, I agree. So he says, let's put everybody's name in the book or the basket except Judge Talbot Smith. And whoever draws the case, that will be his case. And would you believe I drew the case?
You got it again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then in the Detroit Free Press case,
right,
where I said democracies die behind closed doors, I sat on a panel with Judge Daughtry, who was presiding, because I was a senior judge and a district judge from Ohio. And we heard the case. The court was in Cincinnati was packed. And as we got in chambers to discuss the case, Judge Daughtry said, I would affirm the district court, Judge Nancy Edmonds. And I said I would too, and the district judge said he would too. And I said, Judge Daughtry, this is a very important case, and I would like to concur in your opinion. And she says, no, Judge Keith, I want you to write this opinion. I want you to write
the majority, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was flabbergasted. So when I got back to my chambers to tell my clerks what had happened, they jumped up and screamed and hollered. And we said, we have a chance to make the First Amendment very strong.
Of course, we all really miss Judge Damon Keith already. You can see my entire interview with Judge Keith at AmericanBlackJournal.org. A public visitation is going to take place on May 11th at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, and the funeral service is 2 days later at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church. We also want to recognize the legacy of another African American trailblazer, filmmaker John Singleton, who passed away after suffering a stroke. Singleton was the first black director and the youngest ever to receive an Oscar nomination for his groundbreaking movie, Boys in the Hood. John Singleton was 51 years old. Turning now to a man who tells the African American story through his unique works of art. Internationally acclaimed artist Charles Bibbs uses layers of acrylic paint and ink to create art that conveys spirituality, majesty, dignity, strength, and grace. He's in Detroit for a show of his works at Sherwood Forest Art Gallery. I'm pleased to welcome Charles Bibbs to American Black Journal. It's great to see you.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. So let's start with where you're doing this. Sherwood Forest is where I call home here in the city of Detroit. So
amazing.
I'm doubly honored that that you're here on the show as well. So
yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about your work. And one of the things I always ask artists is about the medium they work in. As we said, they're paint and acrylics, and what kind of meaning that medium has for the artist and the kinds of messages they're trying to convey to
the medium allows me to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
A wide range of creativity. My background naturally is in Los Angeles, which is a film town. Mm-hmm. And my inspiration basically came out of the TV industry. And the things that I learned from my parents allowed me to advance in a lot of creative ways, and not knowing that I had this calling, okay, because my father from an old school, okay, says the only thing he knows about an artist is a starving artist.
Huh.
So right away, I had to deal with that reality. But because of our society and the way it works, I was able to do some amazing things in terms of helping other artists become not famous but successful.
Yeah.
And those are the things those are qualities that we try to instill in our movement in the art industry.
So talk about some of the stories that you're trying to tell with the art that you're creating.
Yes, and that's about life in general, okay, particularly the African American life, okay, because that's the only thing that I know about,
Right.
so that's the only thing that I'm going to paint about. So I gravitated from that from an early age during the Black Panther movement in California. Was very active during my college days, and I used my art to accentuate that activity. And from one thing just kept leading to another. And then I learned in corporate America how to make money at it. So, and that's where that success element versus fame got into my mix and what I do for my society of artists.
Yeah. Go back to the 60s and the things that were going on.
Yes.
How much did that time not just influence your art then, but has it sort of influenced you across time?
Oh, right. Everything that's happened in our society, particularly with African Americans, that's what fed me. That's what kept me energized. That's what kept me active. That's what kept giving me the call to communicate through the art. And so I've done that all my life, and I continue to do it today, you know. And the power of the visual image when in the homes, when we trying to get images that look like us in black homes, is a powerful thing, especially when you have kids growing up in the home. So we try to spread this energy everywhere we go. And like at the Sherwood Art, what we're doing this weekend, and the day is the last day of that event, we are really pressing forward and showing the advantage and the privilege of participating in your culture when it comes to art. Because for many years, we only had an opportunity to go to a museum and just look at this art,
Right.
and and knowing good and well you couldn't take it home.
Yeah.
But now we've changed that reality.
Yeah.
Now we made it possible for all of us to enjoy it.
You know, I always enjoy art that features people, right?
Yes.
As opposed to objects. It speaks more
Right.
to me. Talk about some of the people we see in your paintings.
Well, I do representational.
Yeah.
I don't do anybody in particular.
Right, but where do they come from?
But I tell stories. Well, they come from my own experience and what I see in life, and what I feel that it's important for me to tell and show and share with my community, which is the African American art community. You know, and that's my calling, and that's what God gave me to do, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
And I try to do it, but right now, at my age, legacy has become more and more important. So traveling around the country to places like the Sherwood Forest allows me to communicate and share that with artists that never even thought it was possible, okay, that you can make a living by supporting your own culture, okay? And I've proven that that's a possibility. You can do that, and you can be successful at it. Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that comes across to me in a lot of your paintings is a kind of gentility of the people. I wouldn't say they look happy, but they do look satisfied and content.
Yes.
In a way that's important. Is there something you're trying to convey with that expression that's on so many of their faces?
Well, you have a wide awareness, and that I mean, you said that perfectly. But that's basically what it is, and I like to see people's reactions to the work. When they can take something out of the work and says, that reminds me of my mother, that reminds me of my parents. When I hear things like that, that tells me that I'm right on point in terms of my experience and sharing my experience. And it's amazing in our culture, we have so much alike. Okay, if I told you about my childhood, you can always bring out a correlation in your own childhood.
Sure.
Yeah, I can verify. I give you a high five on that. You know,
I remember
lived
that too, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we have a uniqueness in our culture, and that's what makes it so exciting for me to represent my people in that way.
Yeah. What about the future? What do you hear from young artists about the challenges they face and how maybe they're the same or different from what you face?
I see in our culture is that our youth they idolize famous people, and they want to be that. But I try to tell them that, you know, fame is one thing. Fame is like a gift. You know, it's something that you can pursue to be, but not necessarily see it as a failure if you don't get famous. There's a level of success. Okay, and I always give the analogy of a famous person getting an award versus an unfamous person.
Yeah.
They're getting the same award, and they achieve basically in life the same thing.
things, yeah.
So, but there's more chance that you can be successful than it is fame.
Yeah, yeah.
But then at the same time, success means you've been able to enjoy all the things that this country has to offer. Buying a home, buying a car, sending your kids to college. For an artist to be able to do that, that's amazing, and that's what I try to achieve in a lot of my mentees, I call them.
Yeah.
And through my nonprofit, I have over 2,000 members across the United States that are looking for me to pass on those legacies, those words of encouragement.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, Charles Bibbs, it's great to have you here in Detroit, and wonderful to have you here on American Black Journal.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that today is the last day.
Yeah.
The Sherwood Forest. And we're going to be there, and we're looking for everybody to come out there and share the joys of African American art.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, just ahead, Focus Hope opens the door to job training. But first, here's a 1981 Detroit Black Journal interview with Detroit artist Aaron Ibn Pori Pitts.
What motivated you or activated you in creating the art that you do?
I guess when you reach a certain age of being, in particular if you're an oppressed and exploited person, and being a black person in the United States, you are exploited and you are oppressed. And you reach a certain stage of development whereas you want to speak about that and you wish to change it and you wish to do it with your life. So my art began to take on that character as I began to master this craft. And as I began to educate myself, I began to try and give it back to my people, so to say.
Since 1981, Focus Hope has prepared Metro Detroiters for careers through its free job training programs. The nonprofit organization is holding an open house on May 8th to recruit new students to train for high-demand jobs. Here to tell us more is Athena Miller from Focus Hope's Workforce Development and Education Department, along with a graduate of the training program, Lynn Zamora. Welcome, both of you, to American Black Journal.
Thank you for having us.
So, as I said, this is something that Focus Hope has done for a really long time. I think of it as kind of the core work of Focus Hope, along with the food distribution and other things that it does. But talk about how important this work is to the organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, it is one of the core operations that Focus Hope has. We've been doing this work, like you mentioned again, since 1981. And what we do is we transform lives. And so it is one of the biggest missions that we have connected to Focus Hope. We've been doing it for so long, and because we've been doing that work, we've been continuing it, and transitioning lives is something that we've been really good at doing. So this open house is basically giving people an opportunity to learn what we offer, helping them to, in some cases, jumpstart their careers, and these are just not jobs, these are careers.
These are careers,
yes,
right, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, what you're doing is giving people life skills that no one can take from them.
Absolutely.
And you're doing it, I think it's important to know, right in the heart of the city. I mean, Focus Hope is right there in the middle of Detroit, so that people who live here can get there pretty easily.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what we do is, it's high demand job, so it's not just a job that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow. We're giving people opportunities that are that they can transfer to different industries. We're giving people credentials, which is really important. It's basically saying that people are experts in the area that they are working in. And again, this is something, in some cases, it's helping people to jumpstart their careers. In other cases, it's helping people to transform from one industry to another one. And in other cases, it's just, again, giving people a jumpstart to what they need to be doing to kind of change the trajectory of their lives and their lifestyles for their families.
Sure. Sure. So Lynn, tell me about how you came to end up at Focus Hope and how it changed life for you.
Well, I grew up in Southwest Detroit, excuse me, and so I always knew about Focus Hope, but I didn't know that they did career training. So when I saw the flyer for their career training, I decided, I was still a teenager, I was 19 years old, I needed to get some skills on my resume. And just from the moment that I walked in the door, it was a very holistic approach. They were looking at what you need as a person in order to be successful, but then also giving you the skills that you need to transition into the workforce. So for me, it was getting some things on my resume, it was brushing up on my interview skills, it was doing presentation skills, and just everything that I needed to be successful, from their case management, making sure anything that you need. If you were lacking, they were right there checking up with you, making sure you were doing everything that you needed.
Right.
It was just a great experience.
Yeah. So talk about what it led you to.
Well, it ultimately led me back to Focus Hope, where I am now. I am now a workforce development specialist at Focus Hope. So my experience very much came full circle. I'm in a position now where I am meeting students as soon as they come through the door and basically walking them through the entire process, from trying to get people into our programs, to case management, to assisting with job placement. And so I think I was just uniquely positioned to be here doing this work, because I experienced pretty much all the same things that they did as students coming in.
So if not for this training program, how do you imagine things would have unfolded differently for you?
Well, it would have been very different. I think being the age that I was coming in, I didn't have really a career focus. I kind of thought, I like helping people, maybe I would go into the healthcare field, and that's kind of like what piqued my interest, because one of the certifications that I was going to get was CPR and first aid training, and so that's what kind of first caught my eye. But through the classes that I was taking, the other students that I met, the conversations that I had, I realized that I could help people in a different way. Besides being in healthcare, I could connect with people that were in similar positions in their life to me. Some people are young, they're coming through, and as Athena said, they're just trying to start their career. Other people are trying to go into a different field, they're trying to move into something different. So it's kind of hard to imagine. I started as a receptionist at Focus Hope, thinking that I would just be there for a couple months, but I was given opportunities to grow, and so that just completely changed the trajectory of my life.
One of the things I think holds people back from engaging with Focus Hope or other people who do training is they think, I'm not ready for that, or I'm not qualified for that, or it's not for me. Talk about why people shouldn't indulge that instinct.
Right. They should never think that an opportunity is not there for the taking. We are connecting with employers that are offering entry-level types of positions, and what we do is we always consider our training programs it's where they get stackable learning. So they have to always be a continuous learner. And in doing that with the stackable learning, the stackable credentials, it's always an opportunity for them to do more. And what we do at Focus Hope is we meet them where they are. So we have an opportunity for just about everybody. So someone comes in and they may feel a little, I haven't been in school for a while, I'm not really sure how this whole thing is going to work. Well, that's why we have opportunities like Lynn, we have a team of workforce development specialists that are working, taking people through the opportunities that's then going to connect them to the training. And with we have an awesome group of instructors as well. They're dedicated to making sure that people ultimately get the goals that they have set.
Yeah. Okay. So May 8th. new recruiting class will take shape, and you guys will keep plugging ahead with this.
We will.
Yeah.
We
All
will.
right. Well, thanks very much for being here, and congratulations on the work.
Thank
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay, that's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can go to AmericanBlackJournal.org for more information on our guests and to check out past episodes. And you can always connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
MASCO Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. MASCO and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
For nearly 100 years, Ally has been a part of Detroit, and we give back by volunteering and donating in our community. We have a commitment to diversity and increasing economic mobility in our hometown. At Ally, we're dedicated to doing it right every single day.
And viewers like you. Thank you.